Hello and welcome to the First Issue Club. We are your weekly comic book podcast where, just like Sue Storm, we love a good read. I've got some dudes, some bros, some compadres surrounding me. I would love for them to introduce themselves.
Hi, my name's Compadre, also known as Greg. Pleasure to be here.
Mm-hmm. And I'm just Chill Vargas. It's the vibe.
Catch the wave.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm mediocre Mike. Plain old average guy, not putting on any strenuous adjectives to make myself sound like I'm better than anybody or particularly chill or gnar.
To be fair, I selected a name you presented. I didn't just pluck that name out of the ether.
Moving on. As we always do, we're going to talk about some comic book news, and then we're going to get into a handful of first issues we've read. Then you can join us over on the Patreon if you want some more. We're going to look through some comics we've recently purchased in some dollar bins. And then I've got a CGC packing kit that we're going to send stuff away in soon. But if you haven't seen the CGC packing kit, we'll give you a little tour of what comes in the mail when you order one of those bad boys. So that'll be fun.
Yeah. Also, if you have a question or comment for the show, remember we have a First Issue Club hotline.
I always forget this.
That number is 816-579-1734. You can call or text and give us a question or comment, and we'll talk about it on the Patreon.
Want any life advice? We're great people to ask.
We recently got a voicemail I did on my single-player Patreon about who is the best kisser, Etrigan the Demon or the Violator from Spawn.
Ooh.
So I spent about 15 minutes wax poetic-ing about that duo.
What if they kissed each other?
It would never happen. They're dynamically opposed from one another.
Oh, okay.
And it's all about me, baby. Me.
Oh, you want both of them to kiss you?
I am the eligible bachelor here, and I get to choose whose tongue is down my throat.
Vindicator.
Good shit.
Who do you think I picked? It was the Violator, not the Vindicator.
Oh, Violator. Still.
I think you picked Etrigan.
Of course you did.
You want a little hunky boy.
Yeah.
Who's going to kiss you right. Not somebody who's going to shove it all the way down.
I picked the Violator.
No, you did not.
I want it hard and dirty in a back alley.
You dirty boy.
I'm going to be worrying, why isn't he calling me? He left me on red for 4 days.
Yeah, but with Etrigan, you get Jason Blood. He's part of the deal.
Oh, so now I'm Polly.
Yeah. Well, why not?
But okay, so starting off news, this is kind of like a little dated because I read this book that's been out for like a month now.
Spider-Man #1.
Batman 900. Did you guys read it?
No.
Okay.
I am up to date on Batman, so yes, but I don't remember what issue that was. That the issue?
Is it Batman or Detective Comics?
Batman.
Oh, okay.
Was that the issue after the failsafe arc?
It ends the current arc that they're in, where he's like back in time.
Oh, that's right.
Or
okay.
in another dimension.
Yeah.
Gotta get back in time.
That's right.
It was just a really fun way to do big legacy numbering issue, because he's in a multiverse lost through time, and then they hop him through a bunch of different Batman universes, and so you see it jumps styles. So it goes to like Frank
nice.
Miller Batman style, and then like 60s Adam West Batman style, the cartoon, like both cartoons. It does the 20 or sorry, what's the
Batman Beyond?
Batman Beyond. I always think 2099 when I think Batman Beyond.
It's the same fucking
shows
thing.
you how much of a Marvel guy I am. And the animated series. It was really fun.
Yeah, that was a cool issue.
Adam West gives him his utility belt.
Sick.
And it comes in handy later. He's like, he was like, I finally met a Bruce that was more prepared than me, and he uses the shark repellent.
Yeah.
I thought that was so fun. I was like, this is the most I've felt Chip
in the series,
in a Batman comic. Like, this was the most of his like personality coming through on the page with some of like the silly things that they were able to do.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Vargas, correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't like Grant Morrison kind of do something with Batman like that, where he was like Batman through like pirate times and caveman times and like was it like a pilgrim or something?
Yeah, that was after Batman R.I.P.
Yes.
when he died in
Yeah.
what was it, Final Crisis?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Batman had to be Batman basically through the ages to get back to present day. So yeah, issue number 1, and that was Batman Return of Bruce Wayne was the name of the movie.
Yes. I remember furiously chasing down those issues because it was just like a really fun idea.
Yeah.
And you get like a Batman through the ages, like he's as a caveman has like mammoth fur on him as a cape and cowl. I thought it was I love it when comic books do that, where they just kind of take a familiar character and familiar themes and just put it in a different time period or different kind of style.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really liked their whole the steel thing, didn't you? Was that the name of the like medieval?
Dark Knights of Steel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Dark Knight
Knights-
Steel was good. Well, and they do the same thing with like Deceased and
Yeah, just like a zombie. Like
DC
a B movie.
vampire stuff. Like I love just like turning it slightly on its head.
Yeah,
It just kind of freshens it up a little bit.
same here. I love it.
DC's the best publisher when it comes to Elseworld things.
100%. They do it the best.
Yeah.
Marvel has the What If series that has kind of lost its way.
Yeah.
Like old school What If was really fun. They really got to play with it. I wish they would go back to that of like, I recently bought some What Ifs and one of them was just like, what if when Bruce Banner became Hulk, he kept Bruce Banner's brain? And I was like, that's kind of a fun idea.
Yeah.
Or like, what if Kraven had killed Spider-Man? Like, that's fun things to explore of familiar stories that you're used to, of them just being like, well, what if it happened this way?
Yeah.
And so I agree with you, Mike. DC do it the best.
Part of me thinks it's just because they do it more often. That you just, it's not as confusing when you pick it up in a comic book shop. You're just like, oh, this is obviously out of canon.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Marvel, it maybe isn't as good at branding that stuff, or because they do it less frequently, you're just like, wait, why is Spider-Man in a spacesuit now? Like,
Or they just call it multiverse stuff.
yeah.
Like, they don't brand it as, like, DC brands it as just like, we're doing something fun. Like, not tied to anything. This is just
Yeah.
fun stuff.
Yeah.
You're right.
And Marvel's just like, oh, this may be tied in somewhere down the line. It's
We
like,
have to
God
get
damn
into
it,
some
Dan Slott. Why the
continuity."
fuck are we doing this?
Yeah, I'm trying. So I know they did like 5 issues of What If a couple of years ago, where
Mhm.
they had like, what if Ghost Rider was Black Metal, and what if
Yeah.
Spider-Man was the Punisher,
Yeah.
and they've got a couple coming out. But before that, really, it was like Secret Wars 2015 was kind of a whole What If series
Sure.
where they canceled the entire Marvel line of comics, and everybody wrote their own portion of Battleworld.
Yeah.
And that was great. That's why I loved Secret Wars so much.
It was cool, but it was still canon.
Yeah.
Does that make
It
sense?
was,
Like,
sure, yeah.
It would still be holden by a table of editors saying, well, you can't do this and you can't do that. With What If and Elseworld stuff, they're just like, yeah, as long as there's no nudity or curse words, have at it.
Yeah, for sure.
The tie-ins and Battleworld stuff almost made the Secret Wars storyline worse for me.
Because they were better.
Well, no, just because it was like harder to follow, and it was just more information in between the like month and a half, 2 months you had to wait for each Hickman issue to come out.
Right.
It was so, I remember having such a hard time following it. And then someone on the Discord said, you should read that again. It might have been you.
It was me.
And I did, and I thought it was great
Yeah. You have to read all those stories
sequentially.
sequentially.
Yeah.
for
That's
sure.
why I encourage everyone to go back and reread Heroes in Crisis and Doomsday Clock.
Oh, yeah.
Like, as collected editions, those fucking slap. But
It's
for
too
Doomsday
long.
Clock, if you had to wait for 3.5 years for it all to come out,
Yeah,
Yeah.
you lose the thread.
It's trash.
Yeah. I didn't read Doomsday Clock as it was coming out. And
Lucky
then
you.
And then I bought all the issues together, and I was like, why does everybody hate this? Like, I understood why they did an absolute Doomsday Clock after reading it
Yeah,
collected.
yeah, because you need it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Mike D, you were mentioning before the show Distillery, the new comic book publisher, has some merch out with an asterisk kind of attached to it.
Well, yeah, this was a couple weeks ago. I I bought a T-shirt.
Mm-hmm.
They had very expensive T-shirts and hoodies. And part of the deal with the shirts was if you show up to a con wearing some of their stuff, you'll get some merchandise that no one else has access to.
It's like a secret club.
Yeah, exactly right.
It's like a Chopper shopper card.
So I thought, why not? I'll order it. It was more expensive than a normal shirt, but if I get something from one of my favorite creators, that'll just be fun.
Yeah.
And now they have like a vinyl toy, which
Is it a comic book vinyl toy?
you know what? It's got to be one of their characters or something from an upcoming story.
I read that it's their mascot.
Okay.
That little cat thing.
Yes.
Yeah, that's their company mascot. A little cat demon.
It looks like a pretty typical Kid Robot kind of figure.
Thing.
It's like a 5-inch vinyl thing, and it looks like it's holding like an enamel pin. You probably get a pin with it. But they're making and doing fun stuff that's like, here's an exclusive limited thing, and then if you miss it, here's another exclusive limited thing like a couple weeks later. So I think it's fun. They haven't even had a comic book come out yet, and they're already doing
Well, they got to pay the bills somehow.
fun fan engagement stuff.
Their first book's due out in August, though.
Yeah.
Devil's Cut.
And you said that it's like a vignette of stories that are going to branch out from it that are going to be their ongoing books, or like just the books that come out first wave?
So they're not. They've specifically said it's not a previews book. So it'll be some sort of like an intro story to these 8 different ongoings that are going to be coming out.
I'm interested to see if it's a connected world or not.
Yeah, that was my next question. Is do we know if they're creating like a superhero universe with connected stories, or is it all kind of like bad idea stuff, or it's just like separate books under one umbrella?
Given some of the creators, I would be really surprised if it was a superhero-y thing.
Given the creators, I would be surprised if it's all one connected universe. Because the stories all sound pretty
Wildly different.
wildly different, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's going to be the new hotness for sure.
Oh yeah.
Once those books start coming out, so
yeah, bad ideas going to come up some pretty wild shit to get everyone's attention again.
Well, you know what? I'm really interested to see if many of those creators do stuff on Image anymore, because there's some big indie names on that list.
yeah.
And normally their big titles go to Image.
Boom.
Or Boom, right.
So is the only difference between like Image and Distillery, like with Distillery you get like 100% rights to your creator character stuff? Like from what I read earlier, they're just like, you own the IP, we just help you distribute it. And that kind of sounds like what Image does already. So I don't know what the allure is from one over the other as far as character ownership.
I would guess, if I'm a betting man, that there's more even ownership distributed across the IP as opposed to what Image typically does. That's my guess.
Okay.
So, like, I would guess that their creative teams all have equal ownership.
I see what you mean. Okay.
Yeah. And I don't know if
Writer, illustrator,
inker,
letterer.
yeah, all those guys.
All down the line.
That's my guess.
Communism. Sweet.
Well, and at Image Comics, Image has to make some sort of money off of the top of everything, right?
Yeah.
And with all these owners co-owning this one publisher together, there's just less to be taken off the top. Once they get the formula down for like, this is the right place to print and the right amount to print, yada, yada, they're probably going to be saving a lot of money just keeping it all in-house.
For sure. Yeah.
And they're not doing that bad idea thing where it's like, we only print like, doesn't bad idea like just like take a pre-order and like, yep, that's all we're printing to save money.
They only print 4 copies, and you have to dive to the bottom of a river to find them.
You have to, damn it, I almost made a submarine joke. Let's keep moving.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what they do. And with the sort of names they have attached to these books, people are going to pre-order them.
Oh,
I've already pre-ordered a couple.
God, yes.
So, really good.
I read a cool news about Josh Williamson's Green Arrow series.
Oh, yeah.
Little two-parter here. So number one, it was supposed to be a 6-issue limited. It got expanded to 12.
So that means people are buying it.
Of course. It's a great series so far, if you haven't been picking it up. But spoiler alert for issue 3, kind of. We find out that the Green Arrow family, the reason that they're split up is because somehow them being together, Black Canary, Green Arrow, Speedy, Hawk, them all being together is what causes the Commandi alternate universe.
Huh?
The Last Boy on Earth
Yeah.
that DC did.
Yes. Great series, by the way.
Yeah. The Green Arrow family, are the ones that cause that calamity that ends the Earth.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
So they like are actively staying away from one another because they don't want.
Because they don't want to cause that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have they given news that Commandi's coming back?
Not that I've seen.
With them bringing it up, I mean, that it's just kind of setting up the juicy fruit in front of us of just like, hey, guess what we're gonna do now?
Yeah. Isn't that wild though?
That is kind of cool.
That they would pick that to be like, and I mean that's a pretty big. That's basically its
That
own,
was Kirby, right?
Yeah, it's basically its own like Earth. You know, like Earth whatever 42
Earth
is
Commandi.
Yeah, is Commandi, and to give Green Arrow that cause, like he's the cause of it, is I thought pretty big news.
That is cool. It'll be interesting to see if they figure out a way to avoid that fate.
Mm-hmm.
But then this person ultimately ends up existing in the timeline with other people.
Yeah.
Do they find a way to retcon that series or bring that character into the current DCU
Right.
because of it? Fun, exciting stuff. You can't waste a Jack Kirby property.
I look forward to reading Commandi Crisis in about a year and a half.
Commandi in Crisis.
Crisis Commandi.
I'd read that book.
Which is essentially DC's answer to Kazar, right?
Yeah.
Which is Marvel's Tarzan.
Yeah, exactly. Can't wait for Tom King and Mitch Gerard to write Commandi Crisis.
I'm already pre-ordering it.
A 9-panel grid of Commandi being sad.
Yeah. I would love to see Mark Russell do that. I read a Mark Russell Commandi book.
Mark Russell would crush Commandi.
I think that'd be amazing. With Raphael Grandpa on pencils.
Holy shit.
We didn't talk about the new series coming out for Batman. I talked about it when I was by myself, but we never talked about how the did you see the interior art pages for that?
Dude.
It looks fucking brutal.
I mean, it's Raphael Grandpa. Like,
yeah.
His art is incredible.
I think it's really cool. That's just like Batman hunting down a serial killer, but the serial killer somehow knows Bruce Wayne is Batman.
Yeah.
So he's like leaving him clues.
And what is it? Batman Gotham Gargoyle? Is that what it's called?
Something
Gotham
like
of Gargoyle of Gotham or something like that. Yeah, I am stoked for that book.
Did you see they're releasing a noir edition like the same day
of that book?
The normal one comes out.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
Great. Now I have to buy both.
Does that mean it's just black and white?
Yeah, it's just the original art.
Oops, we forgot the colors in this one. Call it noir.
Charge an extra $1.
I've bought a couple of the noir graphic novels.
Right.
And I think they're cool, like especially the Tim Sale ones.
Oh,
just 'cause
well, yeah.
I love his art so much, and Long Halloween especially is like, it's cool to see the original inks.
Yeah, for sure.
He does so much. Like I think I've said this before. I love artists that really lean into heavy blacks, and he's one of those people. And sometimes the colors, you'll lose a little bit of, or that becomes muddier. How much like heavy ink is on the page, and that's one I would recommend for sure. You can buy that like used for like $5.
The Long Halloween one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's an artist who definitely went too soon.
For sure.
Tim
Bummer.
Sale.
Yeah.
I was really hoping for one more Marvel color series.
Mm-hmm.
But at least we got Captain America white.
Yeah. And he did Daredevil yellow,
Spider-Man
blue,
And Hulk gray.
Hulk gray,
And
Man.
Captain America white.
Captain America white. Jeez. Doctor Strange Purple. That would have been it.
Dude, tell me that book wouldn't have been incredible, bro.
It would have been fucking amazing.
Professor X white?
Clear.
Clear. Nice.
Opaque. Professor X opaque.
He's gone.
Emma Frost clear.
Yeah.
He's gone clear. He's
He's gone clear.
He joined Scientology.
He joined Scientology. Professor X is an operating thetan. Prove me wrong.
What's the clear thing for Scientology? I didn't know that.
Going clear is when you like have gotten rid of all your thetans, right?
Yeah, and then your OT level is how high you are in the ranking of the church.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Okay.
And you have to get clear before you can move up.
Yeah,
ranking.
that's right.
Sorry I asked.
Are you sure? Mike and I are going down to the temple later.
Coming
man.
from a guy who I can tell is just brimming with thetans.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm bubbling.
you're a real SP.
It's all right.
Have you not watched any of the documentaries about?
No, I don't want to be
Scientology?
fucking bummed out.
Why?
They're so interesting.
They are.
Caitlin watches it, and I walk in. I'm just like, yeah, no thanks.
Yeah, super SP.
I'm gonna watch Coco Melon with my sons.
You don't even know anything about Galactic Lord Xenu.
I know he doesn't call me back. I know. I think I've watched a couple of the documentaries with Leah. What's her name from?
Oh yeah.
The TV show with. What's the other guy? Wow, this is riveting content.
Good work. Yeah.
Anyway, Scientology bad.
I can never come up with those shows' names because they like made the show again, but with a different name, and they're playing different characters. Maybe
King of Queens.
King of Queens, and then they did another show where they cast another woman
Mm-hmm.
as his wife, and
Oh, Mike and Molly.
no,
Dharma and Greg.
Mike and Molly.
Mike and Molly is essentially
I mean, it's King of Queens,
King
right?
of Queens. in
Roseanne.
in the suburbs.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
What-
in any case, yeah, he had a new show. Kevin James
Kevin James did?
had a new show,
Okay.
and they cast a different woman to play his wife.
A different thin woman to play
And
his wife.
yeah, like someone who was like way too young and like way too hot.
Are you thinking of According to Jim?
Are you thinking of the Flintstones?
You thinking of The Simpsons?
You thinking of the Honeymooners?
You thinking of Family Guy? You thinking of Bert and Ernie?
It's good shit.
Are we done? Are you done with our bit?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm okay.
I'm okay.
Let's transition into the comics of the week.
Da-na-na, da-na-na.
I read The Oddly Pedestrian Life of Christopher Chaos. This is, of course, the first book out from the Tiny Onion imprint from Dark Horse from our good friend James Tynion IV. It is a story inspired and based on an idea from James Tynion, but the script is actually by Tate Bromble and the art is by Isaac Goddard.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so
James Tynion isn't writing this.
So, like, on his Substack, he was just like, this was like a long time ago. He was like, I had this original idea. He basically laid out the format for everything. And the script isn't from him, but he's just like, these are the characters I want. This is the direction I want it to go in. And so he set up a wonderful roadmap to stay on. And he just didn't write any of the words or scripts or anything for the issues.
But I'm assuming he like owns it.
Yeah, like it's his property. Like, but you know how like sometimes Mike Mignola will have people write a Hellboy or a BPRT story. It's kind of the same breath.
But the weird thing to me is that Mignola made several Hellboy books of his own before
Right.
other people started working on them. It's bizarre to come up with like,
Just the idea.
here's an original property.
Uh-huh.
Now play in my playground.
Here's a cocktail napkin. Make a comic out of it. And
We call that the Stan Lee.
yeah, it sounds like James had.
Like, did he commission these creators to make it?
I think so.
Like, he's paying them.
Mm-hmm.
Got
Yeah,
it.
because this was originally a Substack exclusive comic, and so he did a lot of long form essays on it, and like kind of, essentially built the building, and he invited people in to make it look nice.
Now I understand even less.
Yeah.
He released this comic on his Substack.
No, he really he was writing it through his Substack. Like he was giving behind the scenes stuff, update. Like he had an artist already.
He was creating background world and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's wild.
Yeah. The book is fine.
Oh, okay.
It's beautiful to look at. There's a lot of exposition, like right from the jump.
It sounds like there would be with something that, like, doesn't sound like it was created as a comic. It was more created as like a universe. It sounds to me like Astrobots, that Whatnot comic that we covered a while back, where like clearly there's a lot of world building that's happening, because that book was created basically the same way. Like somebody had an idea and they hired a creative team to do that idea.
This is basically the Jack Kirby New God method of just like, I have been thinking about this idea for about 5 years.
Yeah.
And I need someone to help me just finish it off.
Yeah.
And so, you know, if you've been reading comics for a while, James Tynion has no shortage of writings and ideas. And I think it's exactly what you think, Mike. He had built this big world in his mind, but he needed someone just to take it from him. Like, he's like, I've done all this legwork. Like, I can't physically do any more with it. Just run with it. And he's basically like the Stan Lee of this thing. He's the editor. He's like, I like this idea. I don't like this idea.
Yeah.
And so I'm getting, you know, the first arc because of just who's attached to it.
Right.
And the idea behind it seems cool, but I worry that if it was a different creative team, if I would just be like, too much.
Yeah.
Too much here, and like the hook at the end isn't enough. If it was a new creative team, I would have been like, all right, I'm out. But the promise of what James is offering is enough to keep me on.
What an opportunity for that creative team too. To like, I mean, imagine that you're a relatively unknown comic creator, and you have the ability to put James Tynion's name at the top of your book.
Yeah.
Well, and like, didn't Tate and James work together on like Something Is Killing the Children or House of Slaughter or something? Like they've worked together before, and so I don't know. We'll see where it goes. It's a story about a kid, Christopher Chaos, and his weird. There's something off about Christopher Chaos. He has like a Rain Man disease. He can like see numbers in the air. He can make things happen, but like on an exaggerated level. Like it's almost to like a superhero degree. And you know, his mysterious parents gave him up for adoption, and so now he's just like living with this either curse or gift, depending on how you look at it. And there's a secret society working in the background. We don't know what they're up to. At the end, there's like a werewolf. You know, there's blood and gore. There is, like I said, a lot of words midway through this book. So it has a lot of promise, but like I said, if it was any other creative team, I would approach with hesitancy.
Yeah.
Is Christopher a queer character?
Yes, he is.
Okay.
And I know that specifically because I read a lot of James Tynion stuff before this comic.
Just a lot of his leads are. So I was just wondering.
This gives me a Robert Kirkman vibe.
Yeah.
Because Kirkman always has a lot of really lofty ideas in his universes.
This is a big swing for James in this book.
Yeah.
Because all of his Substack stuff is going to be starting to be released on Dark Horse now. No. Yeah, I think it's Dark Horse. And so this is a big lofty swing, and he's hoping for a home run.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens with it.
Cool.
It's a big idea. It's a big thinking man's idea.
Yeah. Cool.
Did you guys, I think last time I think on the episode that we'd talked about World Tree, I was the only one who had read it.
Yeah, I haven't read that yet.
You still haven't? Okay.
No.
I've read the first 3 issues now, I think.
The person on the cover that I keep seeing, and I don't know if you guys are going to agree with me on this, looks like Yolandi from Die Arntwood.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Is that supposed to be?
I don't know.
Okay.
That is exactly what I thought.
The first time I saw it, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's a very unique haircut.
It's a very specific
It's a
haircut.
very specific haircut.
Yeah.
Very true.
But did you like it?
I was very conflicted by it because it was kind of like a dark in a very not fun way
Ooh,
sort of comic.
cool.
And I was just like, ooh, yeesh. I was not ready for this.
Wind, this is not.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So,
I liked it. The rest of the issues are a lot tamer, I think.
are they? Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. The first issue is very brutal and deals with like serial killer, mass shooting sort of stuff. And I'll say that I'm no stranger to dark James Tynion stories. Like he's written several books about ending the world,
Right.
but they are all like a very sci-fi twist, like mimetic and eugenic and
Nice house on the lake.
cognetic and nice house on the lake. Like they've all got this weird sci-fi spin where you're just like, that's an interesting concept. But for something to be, at least in the first issue, a little more based in like a reality wherein just people have like guns and are killing other people, it was just like
Too rooted in
kind
reality.
of a tough read. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a very it is a very intense book. Like the kickoff is really intense. The rest
Yeah.
of the book stays that level, but it's not as in your face about it.
Yeah.
I liked, and what the last two issues have really pushed is like the mystery behind it.
Uh-huh.
What is World Tree? Why is it online? What is it doing to people? That kind of stuff.
I almost think this is a evolution of mimetic.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's a response to real world events.
Yeah.
That just like mimetic, cognetic, and the third one,
Eugenic.
were, right?
Yeah.
Those were responses to the day and time that they were released, but that was 15 years ago or something.
Yeah. And they took a much more
Sci-fi approach.
fun
Yeah.
sci-fi approach to those things.
Yeah.
And
I think that's the tough thing about like the uncanny valley of creating a comic that is also about a social commentary or commenting on
yeah.
a real world event. I always bring up the book The Recount, which is like a book about a group of missionaries who don't agree about who was voted president. So they, get a militia and start killing people. And it's just like, that's too real. Like that's too close to like, that could fucking happen and has happened. Like, you know what I mean? So it's a tough line. And, I don't envy the writer that dares to take on that, challenge. And when it works, it works. And when it doesn't, you're just like kind of left with a weird taste in your mouth of like, I could have just watched the news at this point.
Well, sometimes like I like to watch movies that do that, where they like have some sort of a twist, but they really force you to like look into the mirror of what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
The Black Mirror.
Yeah, but it makes you like kind of really reflect on stuff that might get overlooked if you're not actually thinking about what's going on.
It was not hitting you in the face.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, to Mike's point, like having a comic book do that is very striking because it doesn't happen in such a blatant way very often.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's also a huge risk for a publisher.
Oh yeah.
Because, try pitching that idea and they're just like, oh, I don't know, James. And then you're just like, trust me on this. You're like,
Yeah.
all right, like maybe a mini, but like that's going to be a tough sell.
Yeah. I also think too, all that stuff reminds me of this Sam Humphries book that he released a while back called Citizen Jack.
I remember that book.
It was great.
Yeah.
Super entertaining, super funny. It's about a guy who's a total idiot, but he makes a deal with the devil to become president.
Mm-hmm.
And like that book released this year would read entirely differently
Right.
than when it came out, right?
But I feel like that's like a tone thing too. Like Idiocracy,
Yeah.
the movie, like has some biting commentary, but it's delivered to you in a more palatable way.
Right.
Like, Elephant by Gus Van Sant, and like that movie's about a school shooting.
Right.
Like that's a tough movie to watch because like he intended it that way of just like you're not gonna have fun watching this movie.
Yeah.
But you're gonna learn a lesson. But you also learn a lesson while watching Idiocracy. So
Right.
I don't know.
But even Elephant, right? Like Elephant was made in response to Columbine, but like
Mhm.
you watch that now and it's 10 times worse because there's been 10 times or more
Right.
school shootings,
Yeah,
right? Like,
we refuse to learn the lesson that this movie was trying to teach.
yeah, exactly. And I think that's probably part of what
Well, and there's a thought in your head when you're reading some things that are like, does everyone understand the intention behind what's being creative?
right.
Or are you like, shoot 'em up, awesome?
Yeah.
Someone, I read the Department of Truth and I'm like, what a biting commentary
Yeah.
at all the like conspiracy theorists who are like trying to take down the, world governments. And you could see someone else enjoying that book because they're very conspiracy minded
Yeah.
and love to indulge themselves in those sort of things. And they're seeing a drama play out in this like delusioned world they live in.
Mhm.
So sometimes you read these things that are really well written and very like well paced, riveting stories, but because of the subject matter, you just can't help but cringe a little and think like, God, this is uncomfortable to think about.
Right.
Who's consuming it, what way they're consuming it.
That's the creepier part of
Yeah.
like people interpret one book two different ways.
Right.
And God help me if I meet the person that interprets it the way I don't like. You're just like, whoa,
Yeah.
like you just rubbed me the wrong way.
Well, and speaking of that character we keep seeing everywhere, who is that like the girl with the bleached bob,
Yolandi.
yeah.
Yolandi, that people are doing fan art of that character and
Right.
and all that stuff. And that character's an extremely fucked up
Oh yeah.
character, right? I mean, I haven't read as many issues of it as you have yet, but I would imagine this character hasn't turned into the hero yet. Yeah, but everyone's just like, this character's a babe and cool.
Yeah. Cool
Are
design.
we supposed to take that away from it? Like,
Well, I mean, to the same point, right? Like nobody draws like 30 days of fan art and they're like, look at my Eben and Stella. They're like, look at this sick ass vampire.
Yeah.
Right? Like
yeah.
it's just it's the mascot for the magazine. And
yeah,
let's trust James enough, my good buddy James,
Yeah. T-Dog to some of us.
assume, let's trust him enough to assume that he's going to give the villain their comeuppance, right?
well, yeah. Again, and I'm sure that's gonna happen,
Right.
but that doesn't change my experience with the fandom and how other people are interpreting the comic. It just
For sure.
unsettling is just the way I'll leave it.
Yeah.
That's all the books I read this week. I've been busy with other stuff, mostly buying other comics off of eBay.
Hell yeah. Can't wait to see those.
I did some catching up. So I've read a handful of first issues. Some we covered on the show, some we haven't. I did read Avengers #1.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to see Carol putting the team together. Very straightforward first Avengers issue.
It got me hyped for the rest of the
Yeah.
series, though.
Yeah, it's supposed to, and
Yeah.
that's like the check mark of a good first Avengers issue. Like,
Yeah.
get me hyped.
Yep. So I loved seeing Wanda especially
Mm-hmm.
coming back on the team, and
I, in particular, after reading Black Panther #1, really liked that, I hope, Marvel's leaning into the idea that the Avengers is T'Challa's new home.
yeah,
You
right,
know?
because
Oh,
he's
yeah.
kind of out of Wakanda now.
Yeah.
hmm
So I hope they, like, really let him, because he was in charge of the Avengers in the last series, but towards the end of the run, it kind of didn't feel that way.
Yep.
I really hope they give him, like, a real strong role in this team.
They had a good moment with Carol tracking him down and trying to talk him into coming back, and how he needed to and deserved to be there.
Yeah.
Partially because he made such a big mistake the last run that it's like, we need someone as smart as you who's learned the lessons you have and all that good stuff. So there's already been some interesting dialogue and conversations in it, and just like a first issue, which is a lot of times fluff. So I'm excited for that book, and there's been some rad covers for it so far too, which is great.
Colors are bananas. I've been getting the Mark Brooks.
The Mark Brooks covers
corner
are so
box.
The
good.
corner box variants. Holy shit!
That's what I got
so
for the
cool.
first issue. That's a great cover.
Yep.
I'm a huge Dan Waters believer, and so I bought his first issue of Loki, which I really liked. I thought it was fun. He's got
Are there Dan Waters deniers?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. I was like, I didn't think he was a lightning rod of a creator.
No, he's just someone I really like. Maybe I put that the wrong way. But in any case, he's got kind of like this ship of from mythology. And Dan Waters does his Dan Waters thing and makes this really creepy origin story to this ship, and it's made out of like fingernails of the dead and, and like very creepy stuff that he's great at. That creates some like weird, creepy visuals and that are again fun. But a couple frost giants steal the ship and accidentally crash it into a world tree, and different parts of the ship break off and go to, like Midgard, Spuffaluffaheim,
Anaheim, yep, all of them.
Anaheim, yep, a handful of the different planets, and Loki's trying to track down the pieces because they are like, the fingernails are like embodied with like haunted souls, and so the pieces of the ship carry a lot of like power and drive people mad, and each of them is turning into like a deadly weapon. That's wherever
cool.
they've ended up. So.
I think I read the preview of this, and it was just like, catch up with Loki as he goes to the different planets to get these powerful weapons that have been lost to time or something. I was like, that sounds kind of cool. Of an Ocean's 11 type Loki story.
Yeah, so it'll be fun. It'll be a good series. I read Death Drop Drag Assassin. Had anyone else read this?
No. What is this?
So this is this is a drag queen who used to be an assassin and gets pulled back into that world.
Love it.
There's a serial killer that is killing queer people around this city, and Death Drop, who is the name of the assassin, is trying to make sure someone stays safe, and then ultimately ends up kicking ass, enforcing for the larger community by taking care of business.
That is funny because a death drop is a famous move that drag queens do when they're on the runway.
Yeah.
Love that.
How did you not hear about this book, Greg?
I have no idea. I'm mad that I didn't. I'm going to have to go find this at the LCS.
Because if you would have told me the name of this book, Death Drop Drag Assassin, I would have been like, oh, Greg read that book.
Greg's got the variants. Like, you goddamn right I do.
Greg got the 1 in 400.
And then, did anyone else read Daredevil and Echo?
No.
That's the Taboo book, right?
Is it Taboo?
It is. Taboo wrote this. It is fantastic.
Really?
So I'm on a winning streak with Taboo.
Yeah.
He's been writing some fantastic comic books. I think the first couple that he read, I overanalyzed every line of dialogue. That I was just like, okay, someone who's not supposed to be writing comic books wrote this.
Sure.
You kind of read things through a lens of like, what was he thinking when he wrote that? It kind of makes things seem a little more contrived.
Yeah.
He's written a couple bangers in a row here, I think. And this book, again, teaming up Daredevil and Echo was really fun. Obviously, they're from the same universe, storyline, etc. But bringing those two back together, and he tells this really interesting story of this demon from New York that was a problem in early America and then becomes a problem later in our current timeline. And so you see these two paralleling stories with a descendant of Matt Murdock and a descendant of Echo trying to solve the problem back in early America.
Oh, cool.
That fucking rips.
And then these two in present day trying to take down the same person who's been like brought up to be an issue again.
Oh, that sounds sick.
Yeah, that sounds great.
It reads fantastic. And again, I was kind of reading this with like an extra magnifying glass just to be like, oh, Taboo wrote this. Is it corny?
Yeah.
And it wasn't. I mean, I thought the Deadly Neighborhood Spider-Man or whatever he wrote
Was good.
Was good. And then this first issue was fantastic.
I thought his Werewolf by Night relaunch was awesome.
Yeah. So if you've been holding off on Taboo books just because you're like, he's a musician and it's a stunt thing to have him writing comics,
I guess
I would say give these a chance because they're great.
I guess I'll come out and publicly apologize to Taboo. I have been a very vocal about how I didn't like much of his writing, and you're right, Mike. Recently, most of his books have been slapping real hard, but I think it's the thing of like when a famous person in another area or medium comes into like something that you love, it just reeks of nepotism.
Mm-hmm.
And like we got burned with fucking what's his name's kid who did the Spider-Man book.
Oh yeah,
J.J. Abrams.
J.J. Abrams' kid. So you got J.J. Jr. just doing whatever he's doing to Spider-Man. Wasn't good.
Anybody read Starboy by The Weeknd?
Yeah. Wasn't good.
Trash.
It's like when that happens, you're just like, you're not going to get Weekend fans into Marvel or a comic book shop just like, do you have Starboy?
Yeah.
It's like, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember there was a Ray Shremmerd?
Shadow Man.
That's what it was.
Yeah, for Valiant.
For Valiant. Such a weird team up thing.
So dumb. What can you do? But,
Someone at Marvel did a variant cover that says no flex zone on it for Captain America, maybe.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I think it was one of the early Sam Wilson
That makes
Captain
sense.
America issues.
No Flex Zone.
Zone.
Good song.
Great song. I think that's it this week
Yeah.
for First Issue Club. Are you out of town next week, Greg?
I leave Thursday night at 11 p.m.
I am out of town and get back Thursday night. Sometime.
We doing a Patreon preview, or is it Andy all by himself?
Maybe it'd be a Vargas solo show.
Oh my! A taste of Vargas.
I think worst case scenario.
No epi.
Well, that would definitely be a worst case scenario.
True.
But maybe a day late if I'm not back in time on Thursday. I mean, you've got recording equipment, right? It might not be set up. You just bought a new house.
No, I can record.
Yeah. He's ready at a moment's notice.
It's true.
But yeah, we'll figure something out. Or we'll let you know if we can't record an episode. But holiday week, stuff's going to be happening.
Watch your fingers and toes with those bang sticks.
Yep.
Make sure you don't blow anything important off.
If the next episode is titled Grant Morrison, Great Creator or the Greatest Creator,
You'll
you'll know what happened.
You know it's a Vargas joint. All right, head to the socials. Go to patreon.com/firstissueclub. Check the hotline out. I said it in the beginning. Go back and get the number because my phone's off. I don't have the number memorized. As always, remember to bag and boredom. Hit him with the outro, Mike.
Bye. First Issue Club is edited and produced by Mike DeStacy, Greg Lichtag, and Andy Vargas. Follow us on social media at First Issue Club, and check out our Patreon for videos, audio, and more at patreon.com/firstissueclub.